Three original trig functions come from SOHCAHTOA. So let's do SOHCAHTOA. So SOH means sine of the angle. A lot of times people forget that there's an angle that goes right there, equals opposite over hypotenuse. Ka stands for cosine of the angle, equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and toa means tangent of the angle equals opposite over adjacent. So when I looked at the test that I made in the past, I did use it this year again. It's really heavy on the right triangle stuff, like trigonometry, right triangle trigonometry, probably because I wanted to have mercy on the other classes. So like 2/3 of it is this kind of stuff, and then the last third is more like the radians and the rotations and stuff like that. So anyways, so those are the basic three from SOHCAHTOA. What is the reciprocal function of sine? What goes with sine? It's called cosecant. And cosecant is just sine upside down. So it's that. What goes with cosine? Secant. And what goes with tangent? Cotangent. So if you can just remember what the kind of the opposite is. If you got SOHCAHTOA, you should have all that. And then if you can remember what goes with sine, what goes with cosine, what goes with tangent, then you should have all that. All right, so this is one of those deals where you do number one first, and then I grade it, and then you can start the rest of the test, that kind of thing. So on number two, there's only one question, what's secant of theta? It doesn't ask for like all 6 ratios. Anyway, what's secant supposed to tell us? Hypotenuse over opposite. So what is the hypotenuse on number one? 12. What's the adjacent? 8. Okay, is 12 over 8 the answer? Not quite. 12 over 8 reduces. So if you divide those by 4, you get 3 over 2. I might zoom out a little bit here. Okay, number 3, what is sine supposed to tell us? Opposite over hypotenuse. We should have it all written on number 1. So what is the opposite on number 3? Opposite of theta is 4. The hypotenuse is 2 squared root of 5. That's not going to be quite the final answer. You can plug it in the calculator, but 4 and 2 are going to reduce. You're right, and then you're supposed to multiply by square root of 5 to get 2 square root of 5 over 5. Your calculator can do it. I don't know, does anybody have a bad calculator? You probably should. Is that mine? Oh, you got a new one, didn't you?
My calculator's in bad shape, but it's still like a good calculator.
Oh, that's a good one. Why is it in bad shape?
It's just very dusty, old.
You body slam it a few times.
Potentially.
Put your elbow down on it. Okay, I think that, didn't your old calculator break because you put it in your backpack and crushed it?
No, that was my glass. Those are my glasses. My old calculator was just bad.
Was it bad because it got crushed though?
No, it was just bad. Like it didn't have all the buttons I needed.
I thought you had, anyways. I
I
thought you
did.
had.
I don't know why it didn't have the buttons.
Okay, number 4, cosecant. Instead, is like sine, but instead of opposite over hypotenuse, it's hypotenuse over opposite. So what is hypotenuse on number 4? 4. And what is opposite?
2.
2. And 4 over 2 equals 2.
You are too pretty.
We are on fire.
I thought you stopped grudging. You're the one who's teaching how to keep grudges. Did you not?
Okay, number 5, cosine. Here's theta. Cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse. What's adjacent to theta? 6. Shh. What's hypotenuse? 10. And if you divide those by 2, you get 3 over 5. Okay, what's tangent tell us? Opposite over adjacent. What's opposite? What's adjacent? And cotangent's right there. Adjacent over opposite. So what is adjacent to theta? 2 squared of 5. And what is opposite? What's opposite? 4. Okay, on this one, the 2 and the 4 will reduce. So it's square root of 5.
Would you ever be in construction?
Oh my goodness gracious.
Highly unlikely. Depends on how desperate I am, I guess.
Are you actually secretly a robot? Maybe
He's nothing like a robot. He's a
Did
normal
Mr.
guy.
Announcement write like the whole essay about how you're actually a Russian spy?
What? We did that?
Mr. Announcement?
Oh. He said I was a Russian spy? Or I think I was, he had me like fighting communists or something, which would be like Russians.
Are you a retired spy? Or are you still a spy? She's definitely a
How
robot.
have we learned our lesson about using AI? Skylar got in trouble over the break.
I didn't get in trouble for that.
Skylar's texting with the
Yeah.
AI.
She was running in there.
But yeah, actually, I did start that.
Oh, yeah.
I sent like one AI, I said it was something random, and then everybody started thinking, and Skylar got weird
If you are going to do AI, you might want to filter it first.
at
The more of the story. Okay, what does it mean solve the triangle? What does that mean?
Find all the missing parts.
Find the missing parts. What parts are missing? Missing angle A, angle C, and side. Well, if this is called angle B, this is called lowercase b, side B. Okay, how could we find, let's start with the easier question, side B. Pythagorean theorem. So you could do, because we know two sides of a right triangle, you could do a squared plus 10 squared equals b squared. This would be 164. Then what do we do at that point?
Square root.
Square root. Which, this was like 2 squared of 41.
Yeah.
By the way, if we get a decimal in this section, we're going to round to the tenths place, so the first decimal place.
Will that be the same on the test?
Probably, I don't remember. But yeah, probably, I bet. Okay, now, here's the harder one. We haven't done this today. How do I find angle A?
Great.
Okay, we're going to need trigonometry. When you're doing a trig problem, like sine, cosine, tan, you always have to start with the angle. What angle are we talking about? What angle are we starting from? So in this case, I'm looking for angle A. So relative to angle A, what two sides do I have here? Opposite and adjacent. Which trig function uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent, yeah. So that means tangent of angle A, should equal opposite 10 over adjacent A. Okay, once we have this equation, what do we do to find angle A here?
Use a negative.
Yeah, does anybody remember what it's called?
Inverse.
Tangent inverse, good. So it's tangent inverse of 10/8 or 5/4, doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's what we plug in. Let's round to the 10th place, first decimal. 51.3 degrees. Thank you, Anya. Okay, we could do something similar for angle C, but there is definitely an easier way to find angle C now. Right.
38 points.
Since we know two angles in the triangle, we could do 180 minus these two, or we could just do 90 minus this one, since it's a right triangle. 90 minus 51.3 is 38.7.
Is that
Probably-
Spanish class?
A lot. Well, like if you count each of these as one, which I will, there's probably like closer to 30. Like if this counts as, if you count this as 3 questions, which I probably will, there's probably about 30.
So how many are we doing?
I think
I didn't know that.
I think 17 is the last one.
When I was a baby, I was
All right, number 9. So what are we missing on number 9? We're missing angle Z. What else are we missing? Side, this would be called side X, lowercase x, and this would be called side Z, little z. Okay, now on this one the angle is much easier because we already know 2 angles. So how do I find angle Z? 90 minus 42. The reason we're doing 90 is because if you take out this 90 from 180, you're left with 90. 90 minus 42. Okay. So, who needs picked on?
I'm gonna shop my chair. I'll do. Never mind.
First right at my foot on accident. It hurt really bad.
Okay, Shannon, since you're
What?
assaulting your classmates, how would I set up to find X? We always start with the what? Angle, good. Thank God somebody answered that correctly. So we could use, well, we kind of know both angles, so I guess you can choose which angle you want to use. So what angle do you want to start with?
42.
Okay, relative to that angle, if I'm looking for X, this is the what side?
What's that?
Opposite, and we need a side we know already.
Hypotenuse.
Which trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse?
Sine.
Sine. So it's sine of the angle, which we know is 42, equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, and then how did we solve this? What do we plug in our calculator? If it's,
Sine 42 times.
right. Since x is divided by 12, to solve for x, we need to multiply it by 12. You guys probably remember this, but in your calculator, you need to close that parentheses. Sine of 42, close parentheses, times 12. Was it 8.0?
Yeah.
I did that in my head. No, I'm kidding. I remembered it from your class. Okay, somebody else who's not Shannon.
Ava needs to go.
Okay, Ava, how would we set up for Z?
1 second, I'm not done writing down what you have. I wrote it.
Alright, Issa.
No, squared minus.
Okay, I want to do the trig version.
No, I don't want to do it anymore. Ava.
Okay, so if we start from this angle, Issa, this is, the side we're looking for is the what? The side we know is the, so we need to use, what do you? Cosine. Cosine does adjacent hypotenuse. So cosine of that angle should equal adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, it's almost the same thing, right? It's times 12, except for this time it's cosine. Here's the question though, because I can't remember. I might have. The one on the test might look like this. I didn't look at it. But what if the z is on the bottom? That's my question.
You swap them.
Okay, these two swap places, which means z equals 12 divided by cosine 42. So it'd be different. Because you multiply by z, it goes up. You divide by cosine of 42, it goes down. They kind of switch places. Anyway, that will likely show up on the test. I just can't. I don't know if it'll be more like this one or more like that one. Kind of depends.
How often do you buy new shoes?
Well, as soon as the other ones fall apart. I don't know. Times 12, and that will give you the answer. Did I plug this in already?
8.9.
Okay. Are we good on that section? Ava's ready now. Okay, well, 10 is actually kind of the same thing. The only difference is this is a special triangle because it's 45, 45, 90. But since you guys have nice calculators, you really don't have to know special triangles to get these right. Anyways, they wanted you to kind of do it by memory. Like, what's the ratio of the legs and the hypotenuse on a 45, 45, 90. But we can just do trigonometry. So, angle, we need angle D up there. We need, what else? We need side D, little d down here, and side E.
I like that.
Like, what name? What?
What?
I thought you said I like that name.
I would say.
You kind of gaslight
I said I like that yellow.
I called it mustard yellow, but it might be just plain
Mustard
yellow.
yellow is gross. Mustard,
Dude,
I don't know that.
I almost got it. That's what I love.
I love mustard. What are you doing?
Ew.
She's pointing at me, so I'm pointing over there.
Oh my gosh, you weren't
I know,
here.
she's
I
pointing
was
over there,
telling
too.
everyone
I'm
about my
pointing
dad.
at
So
you.
I
We're
walked into the
pointing
kitchen
at
and he had a jar of mustard and he had a sausage and he took it and he like, is this more clear to you? And then when he ran
Mustard is delish.
out, when he ran out of mustard, he took sour
It's
cream.
tart,
And,
tangy.
so he took like, we gave
Adds
him
a lot of
big
good
bags
flavor.
sour cream.
What about queso?
So we took sour cream and then he like throw some jam in there.
Would you dip a
Queso
hot dog in
starts-
queso?
It's so sour.
Not if I have the option. Okay,
My dad.
so how are we gonna find angle D?
And it was a cold one.
Okay, how are we gonna find angle D?
I was going to say, you interrupted me.
Okay, Ava, how do we find angle D?
Use the other angles.
So how do we use them?
Subtracting
From,
90, since you already have 90.
okay, 90 minus 45, we'll do it, yes, which is 45. I kind of said that a second ago. Okay. Somebody who hasn't done one yet, so that'd just be like Shannon Nisa.
I did one.
I didn't do one.
Oh.
I'm a disappointment.
You did one?
No, I'm a disappointment.
Okay, Grant, how would we find, let's say, side D here?
So, like, from the top 45 would be like the opposite, and we already know the adjacents of the opposite rotation, which would be tan.
Okay, so he's saying from this 45-degree angle, this is opposite and this is adjacent.
Yeah.
So tangent of 45 equals opposite over adjacent.
And then we would times the d by, what's it called?
Oh, what?
Wait, am I doing it wrong?
I don't know, what are you doing?
Wait, we times the tan by 20 and then the other side by 20
Yeah.
as well?
This is D divided by 20. How do we get D by itself? Times 20. That goes away. Yeah, it's just like the last problem. Now, tangent of 45 is just worth 1. 1 times 20 is 20. Why are these both 20? Because that happens on a 45, 45, 90, remember? Legs are the same. Okay, E. Somebody else. Actually, since these are both 20, you might do like Pythagorean theorem would work there.
No. Wait, it's not great.
Mikey McEli.
Do Shelby.
Oh, hope.
Eli. Shelby likes math.
Hope
How about whoever volunteers, I'll start calling on, or volunteers
You
other
should do
people,
Eli.
I'll start calling on.
You should do
I
Eli.
volunteer Eli. So
I just said if you
I already
volunteer,
did it.
I can make you do it again.
Oh, never mind.
I wish I had like a coin
Shannon
to
volunteered
flip.
for me.
No, it's not.
I kind of would, but alright.
David's volunteered.
Eli,
So, for E,
Yep.
just do sine 45 from angle F.
okay, from angle F, so from this 45, we're looking for the hypotenuse, and we have the opposite. So which trig function is opposite and hypotenuse? You already said it. Sine of 45 equals,
20 over E.
right. Okay,
You just switch the E and sine of 45.
right. If the variable's on the bottom, it gets multiplied up to here, and then sine of 45 gets divided down, and they switch places. So E is 20 divided by sine of 45, which will come out as,
Well, A square a
thank you,
She's not
K.
it's the worst British accent.
Wow. I'm actually
It does-
actually British.
I think I've said this twice before, it is an actual British accent, but it's like the,
Oh, so you got
it's like the hick version of a British accent.
Sing somewhere else.
That's actually incredibly rude.
Oh.
That's just where I
I
was
don't
born and
know.
raised.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes I
You were born in Texas.
I thought you claimed Germany or something, because your dad was from
Eli
there.
claims Wales.
Alright,
You speak Wales, also Welsh.
okay, number 11, whoopsie. That was supposed to be there.
A 20-foot boy is supporting a pole.
You just changed your
This
accent
is
again.
how you do it.
I don't even know if you can tell.
Like, so,
I can't.
Oh, I think that was actually.
No, it's just different British. There's different.
I don't know the difference.
There's like posh British, there's kind of like low class British, there's different.
You're definitely lower class British.
you do that completely over. Like,
Stop.
how does a mouse
That's
do
where I was
that?
raised,
No?
and I'm proud of it.
Okay, so on 11 it just has words, so you need to try and draw a picture. So I'm gonna give you guys like 30 seconds, see if you can draw the picture. 30 seconds, go. So you can get the picture for this problem.
I'm at the
Shh.
Disneyland.
Do it on your page. Got the picture? You
Wait.
still have 5 seconds left.
Were you actually counting?
Wow.
I did it.
I looked at the clock. Okay, a wire is supporting a pole. So there's your pole going straight up.
You should go the other way. You should do the
I think they call these a
Can you
guy.
put the wire the other way?
Yeah, you should do it the other way, please.
My word. You girls are high maintenance.
It'll help me understand better. You want
Well,
that?
then it won't match the.
Thank you. See,
Then you guys should have whined and said put it on the left. Okay, so where do I put 20 feet at?
The wire.
The y, the hypotenuse basically, right? There's a 90-degree angle, and where is 54 degrees?
On the ground.
Between the wire and the ground, okay. And we're looking for how high up the pole is the wire, so we're looking for like the height of this thing, like how high up. Okay, so, start with an angle. Relative to this angle, I am looking for the what? Opposite. And I have the hypotenuse. Which trig function? Sine. So sine of the angle, sine of 54 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse. So it's kind of like the last few we've done. You just kind of multiply by 20, that's it.
How many word problems are gonna?
One, uno. This is pretty representational of the test.
I'm scared of hitting some of these.
And you still want it at the 10th place?
Yeah. If it doesn't say on the test, you can just do like the 10th place, probably. It'll probably tell you. What'd you girls get, or guys?
16.2.
16.2 feet.
And are you gonna count off if we don't include feet?
You're horrible.
Definitely. 0 points.
But are you asking
No.
but only for you?
I'll be so thrilled you got something right.
Are
I
you
won't even
sitting
care.
next to me, you're ratty? Oh, yeah.
To know you.
Oh,
Thanks.
joy.
For that compliment.
Does it sound like a
I
compliment?
don't know you. She's coming back here with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Or wait.
Yes, no, you're right.
Do you think Mary Poppins could be supposed to be on?
Okay, girls. No WWE back there. Is that what it's called? WWE?
Yeah.
World Wrestling?
I don't know.
What's the other one?
What is the E?
What's the E stand for? WWF?
No, it's not even E.
No, it's WWE, but I don't know what it
Isn't
stands
it like
World Wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe like World Wrestling Entertainment.
Okay. Yeah, how do we convert radians to degrees?
Pi over 180. Wait, is it?
Well, no, that's the other way.
No.
So pi radians is worth 180 degrees. So I just told you guys, you can just swap out the pi with 180 degrees. So you could also actually use 180 over pi, but that's a little more confusing, I feel like.
That's the one I do.
Okay, but what you said would work on 13 pi over
Yeah.
180. It's the other one. This goes the other way though. Anyway, it comes out as 270 degrees.
Everybody. loves
Okay,
soccer.
how do we convert to radians from degrees?
Pi over 180 times
Yeah.
200.
There was a converter we had to use. You wanna, so pi and 180 are the same thing, right? So this is like multiplying by 1. These are the same values. So you have to divide out the degrees and multiply in the radians. So this is, you're gonna just have to have this memorized right here.
Negative 5 over 3.
That is the converter. Yeah, and this is what your calculator should spit out.
Have you ever felt happy? Yes.
Have you, Grant?
Probably. Probably.
In theory. Like when you giggle like a maniac.
That's not happiness. That's just
not
like.
happiness.
That's just like.
That's not really anything, that's him like.
That's you covering your pain.
What?
That's you covering your pain.
Totally.
I have golf and a quiz in the next 2 hours.
How's your golfing? Issa, how's your golfing skills coming along?
I'm so good. Like I should like be a professional. Like,
How many holes have you
She hides
rolled?
in the bathroom.
I don't know. I don't hide in the bathroom the whole time.
Like how many? Like what's like your par?
I don't know what that means.
Can you hit it in the hole?
I sent her a
Well,
video
you wouldn't-
from 2 steps away.
That's good.
Oh, I sent her a video of this Canadian talking about going golfing and she had no idea what happened. Listen, I'm not there because I want to be there.
She showed me a video of her.
Oh, what you were doing with it? Yeah. It's called driving.
That's
Congrats.
No, like if Emily ever played golf, it'd be like Nikisha.
I mean, you look at my computer. Oh, no, I'm picture.
Okay, so on these, on these graphing on the XY coordinate plane with the 2 points, where is 0 degrees at?
Right.
To the right. So that would make this how far? 90. This one was, and this one. And if we go all the way back around, and you could keep going, but, so where would 220 degrees be?
The third and one.
Well, yeah, somewhere in the third quadrant. It's almost halfway between, it's slightly closer to 180. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to kind of get kind of close. So that's the picture, but then you're supposed to list the reference angle. So how did we find the reference angle?
How close it is to the x?
How close it is to the x-axis. That means if it's over here, like in these two quadrants, it's how far is it from 180. If it's over here, it's how far is it from 0 or 360, like whatever it's closer to. So if it was like 340, that would be 20 degrees off of that.
So you never do the reference angle on the 90 or 270?
No. It's always off the x-axis. Okay, so how far away is 220 from 180? If you subtract, it's 40 degrees. So somewhere, this is like half the credit on this problem. Somewhere you need to like put 40 degrees, like in the picture or off to the side. What makes 420 a little bit weird? It's more than 360, yeah, that's right. So what do we do if it's more than 360? Okay, yeah, how far past, you gotta figure out how far past 360 are we? So if we take away 360, that means it's 60 degrees more than 360. So it's gonna be 60 degrees past a full rotation. So where's 60 at? Well, closer to 90. Most, like 2/3 of the way to 90. So it'd be about right there. And what is the reference angle? 60, because it's 60 degrees past here. Past 360.
What's that?
Somebody was like ring doorbell.
We're so excited.
Did you say babe? What pet name are you going to use for your husband, Ethan?
For my husband, Schmuckums. That's a joke.
That's grounds for a divorce, I'm pretty sure. Schnookums. She's like, welcome home, Schnookums. He's like, I'm out. We're
What
done.
makes you think Issa's gonna have
Whoa, I already have one.
Oh, I'm sure she'll have
Always
3 or
hope
4.
for it, man.
If you keep calling them Schnookums, you're going to have to try again. Okay, actually the next one is the graphs.
No.
Last two
It's like a
graphs.
Joker on the name. Like one of my quick ones, bro. Yeah, but they look at New York.
I'm sure you probably should. You probably like
No.
This is
I
Jack.
tend to accidentally.
What's your favorite?
BGM's playing with it. You suck.
Okay, there are 2 graphs. It's kind of like the worksheet because the graphs will be pre-made and like these will be preset.
Are we gonna have a left side?
Yeah. But I mean, if you can figure out the right side, it does have a left side. If you can figure out the right side, like the left side is kind of automatic.
If I fail
Is that the last one?
Last one was
Last one was
Street calculator.
I wonder if I skipped one.
Chair. Oh, it's gone. It's on the floor.
It's okay until you see it tomorrow. You're like, I don't know how to do this.
That was correct. That was very good.
Oh, it's probably a
For
negative.
no reason.
Like you go opposite.
There's 2 graphs, right?
Yeah.
I did like the step. Like,
No, I think I just misnumbered it.
do we not have a negative?
I don't think I did put negative on there.
Okay, you're mad at me, right?
Okay.
Whoa.
I was pushing my limits.
What do you guys think this? Okay. What do you think this A stands for? Amplitude. Amplitude. And what is the amplitude?
Wow.
Well, on this problem, what's the amplitude? 3. Okay, which means that tells me the graph's going to go up 3 and down 3. So these are, I'm setting up like the borders of my graph. Okay, what is the period? What is a normal like default period for a sine or cosine? 2 pi. But not on this one. What is the period for this one going to be? Yes, it's going to be 2 pi divided by whatever number is in front of the theta or the x or whatever the variable is here. 2 pi divided by 2, which is just pi. Now, if the period is pi, that means it needs to go through its cycle by the time it gets to pi. It needs to go through all of its motions and get back to where it started by the time it gets to pi, which on our graphs are going to be right there on the 4th mark. Okay, these are pre-made graphs, so we're going to have to make our graph fit their marks. Okay, any questions so far? Got these two. Okay, where does cosine normally begin? At the top. Okay, then it goes down through the middle, and then it gets to the bottom, then it comes back up, eventually gets back to the top again. It's supposed to be through its period by the time it gets to pi. That means right here, it should be back to the top again. Which means by 2 pi, it should be back to the top again. So, where will it be at the bottom? Well, because it's symmetrical halfway between those two, right? So right here in the middle, it should be back to the bottom. Which means right here, it will be going through, at the quarter steps, it will be going through the x-axis. So you could just mark those as like the top and bottom and do like a rough sketch.
Did you need to know that? No. Wait, did you hear it?
I think that is my favorite shade of blue.
Oh, it's just so bad. Not much, it's just.
Well, on the smart
Oh,
brush,
cheeks,
that's my
yeah.
favorite. Okay, one more. Put them up.
No.
Okay, yeah, this is the one that kind of freaked out the other class. So it's going to be marked the same. I just ran out of time and didn't finish all the markings. Like this will be pi and 2 pi way out here. What is the amplitude? 2. What is the period? 2 pi. It's the standard period because they didn't put a number right here. They didn't put a, like they did on the last one. So it's going to be the standard 2 pi period. That's actually good news because that's like what we're kind of used to graphing. Okay, what does the +1 do to the graph? Makes the graph move up 1, which means the middle of our graph is no longer the x-axis. The middle of our graph is this line right here, the y equals 1. Because the amplitude is 2, the top of the graph will be 2 up from there, so that'll be at 3. The bottom of the graph,
Oh no. Don't let that happen.
Asa, can you go back to where you came?
the bottom of the graph will be down here, 2 below.
Back to your home.
Okay, what does the minus pi over 2 do to the graph? Right, pi over 2, which they marked on the graph right there. So we're actually, this is like the middle of our graph. It's up 1 and right pi over 2. So where does sine usually start? In the middle, which we've got a new middle right here. Where does it head? Where does it go after that? Up. So because we got normal pi, or 2 pi period, it's just 2 squares will be at the top, 2 squares will be back to the middle, 2 squares will be at the bottom. The bottom, however, is at -1. Okay, I kind of remember that. It goes back to the middle, back to the top, and so on. definitely the toughest one, probably, I'd say. But the more you get right, the more points I'll give you, okay? If you don't get every little thing right, you can still get most of it.